Dun 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 dun.
Okay, so basically, Joe Biden was invited onto the show, The Breakfast Club. I'm sure some of you guys know
Oh, with like
about that
Charlamagne the
show,
God.
right? Yeah, Charlamagne the God. He was interviewing Joe Biden about this, and I didn't watch the full interview, but he actually did some very "What the hell are you doing, Mark?"
That's a question you just normally don't want answered.
That's very true. Anyways, he actually did a very thorough, some very thorough vetting because Charlamagne the God, he has he doesn't have like the most positive opinion on Joe Biden, obviously, because of like everything he's done, like in terms of mass incarceration, in terms of with the black community, in terms of the crime bill in the 90s, you know, so he wanted to ask Joe Biden about all these questions, and from what I've heard on Twitter, he did like a phenomenal job pushing him on certain issues, which is always good. But it was at the end of this interview where he said a very controversial remark. It's another classic Biden gaffe. It's not one of those moments of like cognitive decline that we've been seeing in like the past year or so. This has been something that he's been doing since like at least 2008 and like before that. Like, you guys remember when he was like talking about like the stereotype of like Indians or Middle Easterns in 7-Elevens?
I think so.
Yeah.
No.
I even recall.
That
I do
was
not remember that.
well, Mark and JD know that was like a thing.
Mark,
I
put the
personally
clip
don't.
right here.
At any point nowadays, I just don't remember anything anymore. I don't even know what life was like. Apparently, there was a life before quarantine.
Bro.
Yeah, quarantine was like a decade ago, dude.
Dude.
Time flies by fast.
No, people used to go
So
outside.
basically, yeah, we can watch this clip now.
The former vice president growing visibly testy a little bit after it was insinuated that he had not done enough to prioritize the black community.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see.
Take a look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years. I have a record that is second to none. The NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run. I mean, come on. Take a look at the record.
Mike, how's that?
Just for the record, the NAACP has not endorsed him.
Exactly.
Ooh, false.
Yeah, they don't. Mark, you're muted. Also, they don't endorse any candidate. They're nonpartisan.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
he's presuming.
Yeah,
He's throwing out lies.
He has a long history of lying about those kinds of things. For an example, I think he said that he was at the top of his class at Harvard Law School. He was not. He was at the bottom. So
he went to Harvard? Actually, I'm not surprised. It seems like every other politician went to Harvard.
Yeah,
it does seem like it. I mean, Elizabeth Warren was a freaking professor there, I think.
Yeah, but like that's just
the first colored professor.
Technically, 0.1%.
Okay, but like honestly, like that's just something. Honestly, at this point, I'm not like that surprised. I'm just like disappointed. Like, this is the person that's like picked to represent the Democratic Party. I don't even know how to like actually react to that, because like to understand, like, some people have like gone through certain things to make them believe in certain like just political parties and stuff like that. Like,
I still don't even get why he even said that.
Exactly.
He's trying to seem appealing because you notice how like he's trying to act like cool when he talks, you know, like laid back. He did that throughout the entire interview. It's just very off-putting to me because it just seems very like fake, and he doesn't watch himself when he talks because he's trying to make it seem like it's like a man-to-man kind of thing, but it just flops on its head.
See, like, I would understand. I understand in a certain way, because that's just who Biden is. He just says like stuff, and it just comes out of his mouth, and like we can critique like what he says, like, and just like say like you ain't black and just start going into it. But I just literally think that's just who he is. Like, if
he doesn't think
in his house, he'll just say that shit. And I think it's kind of refreshing. I think it's kind of funny. You know, it was almost like the appeal of Trump back in 2016.
Yeah,
Like,
I was gonna say that
just-
he kind of has that tough guy attitude.
Wait, is he? Did he say who's only going to run for one term, or did he say? Or
He most likely will.
He's not going to
look
survive
look,
another term.
Look at the guy. Do you think he could go for 8 years, bro? No way.
homie. All right, put the over under of Biden's term in presidency to 3.5 years.
Like, yeah, what was it? The 25th Amendment? That's like, oh, if like you're unfit for office mentally, then like you can be replaced with your VP or something like that. Was that the 25th?
Yeah.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
the line of succession.
That just watch. That shit's gonna happen like by like year 2, and then whoever.
Unless
the
Democrats have like control like this like Senate or like the.
I was even going to say like if they try hiding that information.
He's sitting in the White House Oval Room in his underwear playing Fortnite.
God. You think he has a mental capacity to play something like Fortnite?
Bro.
240. He's at 240. Like at this point, I'm not even surprised. I'm just disappointed that this is the person representing like the Democratic Party.
Yeah, just the media has covered him like a lot.
A lot. Yeah.
It's just covered him in the sense that like they don't cover the negative aspects of it. Like say what you want about like the Tara Reade allegations, but that didn't really hit headlines until like 3 weeks into the allegations breakthrough.
Though I think it just has to do with the fact that the Democratic Party has really shut up.
It's frustrating that the Democratic Party wasn't talking about it, and it still isn't. When it was Kavanaugh or it was Trump, they were going after them, trying to just get these people incarcerated or whatever. But when it's their own guy, they just shut up. They don't talk about it, and they don't really. And to everyone looking, if you're paying attention to it, it looks like the Democratic Party really doesn't care about sexual assault victims. They only care about their own bottom line, which is the sad thing is what most political parties are actually for. They're down for their bottom line. And if you can help them, it doesn't matter what experiences you've gone through. They don't really care about your experiences. They just care about how you can help them get who they want elected.
Yeah, exactly. And GD, when you talked about mass incarceration, what that reminded me of was remember when Kamala Harris was really going after Joe Biden for his like record?
Yes. Oh, it was on busing, I believe.
On busing
yeah.
and mass incarceration.
Yeah.
And then suddenly there's like a flip where she endorses him, and it's almost as if all of those critiques are just thrown out the window. Yeah. It's even in like her fan base too. Like her fan base, they dubbed themselves the K-Hive, and like now they're like all in for Joe Biden. Like,
oh no, like
they won't accept any criticism of him. It's pretty whack.
My parents are the same way. Like when I criticize Joe Biden or they're talking about, like one of the things that like frustrates me is they pin like, you know how most people need a scapegoat for what happened, right? So they even do the same thing. They don't want to blame the person who got elected. So when, for instance, in 2016, Hillary lost, they've pinned the blame on Bernie the entire time when they didn't even look. Whereas like most Bernie supporters actually voted for Hillary Clinton when that happened. It was Hillary's fault that she didn't visit or she didn't campaign as much because she thought she had it in the bag. She was going to win.
Actually, I have a really interesting question for you guys. Like, I don't know if this is just me or my experience, but like there are times where I feel guilty, like being in support of the Democratic Party because I feel like people assume that because I'm a minority that all of a sudden that's my affiliation. Like, does that make sense to you? Like the party kind of takes advantage of minority support.
No, that's like a very liberal mindset where you're kind of assuming that most minority groups would be liberal. That it's like a very white feminist, like white kind of way of viewing it, and it does upset me, and that kind of has to also do with Biden's remarks here, where you're saying if you're a black person that supports Trump, then you ain't black. It's pretty crazy.
It's kind of frustrating because like I'm my own person. I'm not a race, and my entire race doesn't support like this one party. I have my own ideas of what I think about government, what I think should happen, and stuff like that. Like I'm an independent that leans left. I'm not a full supporter of the Democratic Party, but like it's just frustrating when like I get put into a hole, like in this one like category. Like, oh, you're a minority Democrat. Oh, you're white Republican. Like I don't like that.
I actually want to see your guys' opinion on this. Morgan Freeman, in an interview, he stated,
"How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man. I know you as Mike Wallace. You know me as Morgan Freeman."
Do you think that's a good approach? Do you guys think that's a good approach?
I think
That's like
because a lot of racism is nowadays, especially, isn't like, oh, I'm gonna actively be racist, but it's much more like subconscious stuff, like just subconsciously thinking like, oh, that guy's black, so I like, oh,
because
right.
You have to think about it, because racism has some very deep roots in our country's history, and it's very hard to shake off those kinds of mindsets, especially today. You know, like the civil rights movement was in the 1960s, but you know, it's still like
we haven't even hit 100
slowly.
years.
Yeah, exactly. It's still slowly reaching down. It doesn't have to do with the fact that we should stop talking about it. It's just this kind of process that we have to kind of guide in the right direction, because like whether you like it or not, whether you want to stop racism is always going to be there in like the state of society today.
There's part of me that like 1984 just like hit my head. It's just like, hey, if the words just don't exist and we don't talk about it, it just stops happening.
What was it called? Word speak or something like that?
Like Newspeak or whatever.
Newspeak. Just eliminate the word racism from the English dictionary and everything will be okay.
Just call it what's it called? Making friends. How about we just make friends, guys?
Yeah. Just be like, we did it. We did it, Skipper. We solved racism.
Oh my gosh.
You know, I'm not racist. I have 2 black friends.
That's literally Biden, bro. Like, that's him with Obama.
I had a black friend.
I'm not racist. I was Obama's VP.
You ain't black if you think I don't got a black friend in office. I was about to say, like, Kuso was bringing up, like, stereotypes. And I remember, I think this was on Hassan Minhaj in one of his episodes. People were dissing Andrew Yang because Yang made a comment about how he knows a lot of doctors. And people were saying, like, oh, you're propagating Asian stereotypes. Like, what do you guys think about that? It was like,
no, like, that's not like propagating Asian stereotypes. That's just saying a lot of my friends are doctors. Like, that's like me saying a lot of my family members own a restaurant. Like, it's just facts. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like,
but, okay. To be fair, is a stereotype, but like that's okay. For us Asians here, that's like something we joke about a lot.
Yeah, but
so like, who's really being offended here? Like,
no, but
it's just something that we talk about amongst ourselves.
But there is a fundamental difference between me and you saying it and someone who is running.
Should we make that difference? Like, should there be that somehow we put them on this platform where suddenly they can't make the jokes that they would normally make? Because isn't that fake?
Because the way I see it, when he says that, he's trying to appeal to the Asian voting bloc more. It has nothing to do with propagating stereotypes. It's just him making a joke so he seems more relatable to the other Asians out there. Because that's how I see it. It's not anything that's like propagating stereotypes. It's just a joke that Asians share amongst themselves.
The thing about like a president or a presidential candidate says it is the reason why they need to be better is because you're representing the country in a sense. So I understand like where people are coming from. Like, you can't say that, but like propagating stereotype does not, like, if you're talking about your life or like people you actually know, like, I don't really care. Like, I'm talking about my family. Oh yeah, we own a lot of restaurants and liquor stores. That's just how it is. We own that. That's like my life. I'll make a joke about it. I'll make a joke about my life. I think he should be able to like joke around and stuff like that. But at the same time, like, you need to choose when and where you say that much better, because you're running for president who is the figurehead of like our country and the leader of our country, and like what the rest of the world sees as the, like, basically when people think of America, they think of the president. So you're the figurehead. You have to like.
I think Andrew Yang and Joe Biden share the same kind of problem in that kind of sense, where like sometimes they don't watch what they say. Like, for example, oh my god, there's a video and photo out there where like someone wanted to pour fucking whipped cream into Andrew Yang's mouth. He was like on his knees and like his mouth was up, and some guy was just pouring whipped cream into his mouth, and like in the photo you can see his manager like in the background just like freaking out over it.
Like,
it's really funny. You could put it on the screen. It's hilarious.
And of course there was also that when this was like, I think in the earlier stages of quarantine, but like the whole like, oh, Asian Americans just need to like put on their like what American flags or whatever, and like just
Oh yeah, that's true.
show
Yeah,
that they're patriots. Like
yeah.
Mark's doing that right now, actually.
Yes, he's doing that heavily.
Yeah, there we go. Hey! Wait, Mark, turn around, Mark, turn around. Yeah,
There's
see
the
that?
backside.
See that right there? That's America's ass.
Guys, I think we just got flagged for nudity.
We're about to get demonetized.
Hell yeah!
I can't get demonetized if you're not monetized.
YouTube saw I'm about to hit the demonetize button on the video.
See that?
Basically, Jostens is a company that sells a lot of graduation items. Some of you guys watching may have purchased from them. We're not going to demonize or we're not trying to slander the company. Like they're a good company. They've treated schools well. They're really good when it comes to products, even though I think some of the rings are pretty nasty. But they sent out an email trying to advertise like caps, gowns, normal PR stuff. But what caught my attention was the headline. Now, you guys watching maybe know, maybe don't know about the Saga shooting. It happened in Santa Clarita. We happen to be from Santa Clarita. We're doing this podcast mostly about stuff that happens around in our neighborhood, Santa Clarita. But if you guys know about the Saga shooting, there was the phrase Saga strong, and basically indicating that it was a slogan to gather support. It was used in the what was it called? The vigil.
Yeah, it was like a kind of unity thing. Like we're standing strong with like sagas, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And let me pull up this email. Just look at it and tell me what you see straight off the bat. All right, what do you guys see is wrong here?
Okay. The class of 2020 collection, Academy, the senior straw.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Is Jostens local though? That's what I'm thinking.
I think so.
They're a national thing.
No.
But they have branches, right?
Do
they have branches?
They specifically work. They specifically worked with the entire Heart District. And this is, I believe, I haven't contacted the company, but I'm really curious because I want to talk to the person. Like, I think that this was, because it's an email talking about Academy of the Canyons. And I think that they were trying to reference the Saga Strong slogan here.
I think they were.
I
I
don't think so.
don't think it was malicious. I think so. I think it is actually because
I don't know. Okay.
Okay,
Because
This is like another case of a company just not watching what they say.
no, it's not even like that. I don't think it was malicious in any way. I think they were actually trying to be like, "Yo, we're with you guys. We're here to be. We're like standing with you guys. We're here in support." But like, it was just like, I understand what they were trying to do. It just wasn't handled the best. I feel like.
Really? Because to me it seems like they looked at a few people's like profiles and were like, "Oh, Saga strong. I wonder what that means. Hey, we can probably use that." That's what it kind of seems like to me. I mean, I don't know.
It looks like they just they saw it's getting like a lot of popularity and they just used it to gain profits for their own benefit.
Yeah, maybe they just thought they were being clever. I don't know.
Okay, maybe I'm a bit too optimistic, but I just genuinely think that's an email they sent to every school in the country that they work with.
Well, we won't know that unless we
don't know, but like I don't think
we can't know that.
If they was personalized, I don't think it was malicious in any way. I think they were trying to just show that we relate. We're with the seniors of Santa Clarita and like all these high schools. And even if it's like just a country, I think then maybe they're trying to show we're in support of you guys. I don't think it was malicious in any way, but like it was just very like
this August shooting made national headlines.
That is true.
Like even if it was like a national email, you'd still have to have a PR person double check these things.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I am like 99% positive, but I'm 99% positive that that this was from a local branch. I don't think it was sent directly from like the top headquarters from Jostens.
Yeah, it probably wasn't.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure Jostens has like their own like place around here. So
they do. They have their branch out here. That's who that's why we got some of our graduation stuff like on like
Yeah, exactly.
we got it before the other national chords that we were supposed to get. We got it before the stoles that were from COC. Jostens was on point because they are here in town.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
because to me it seems like it was an actual email.
Kind of shook me.
To me, it just seems like they're not watching what they say. Like they think they're being clever with something, but like they don't understand the full context or meaning or of like the consequences.
I just think they were just. I think they were trying to be like show that they're in support, but they just didn't do it the best way.
Yeah, I think they could have done a
And
lot better.
If you guys are watching right now, we're not trying to diss Jostens.
No.
Good.
Yeah.
It's just
like
we're trying to show you the facts, which is that was an email that was sent. I just think it was poor taste. Somebody should have looked at it, or
same.
somebody. This is an example of somebody. This is an example of bias, right? Where like not like bias, but like if you had someone else look at it who's not necessarily someone who's just like who thinks exactly like you. If you had someone who's just like a high schooler.
You could even send it to like maybe the principal, like maybe a principal of the school, like, hey, we're thinking about sending this email out to the students in the district. What do you think?
And don't get us wrong, we're not trying to cancel Jostens. Like I have like a huge thing against cancel culture and like this sensitivity that we've kind of like cultivated in society recently in the past like 2 or 3 years, but we're not canceling Jostens. It's just a mistake that they should probably try to watch for.
Yeah.
In the future.
And I think that goes for like anything, like even for us, for people in general. Like if you are on social media, even just as an individual, you gotta like watch what you say, not just like. Even if I also have a thing against cancel culture, but it's like you gotta protect yourself because there are people who will take advantage of that.
Exactly.
Wow. That's disgusting, Mark.
There's a lot of things we're not watching ourselves say, like in this podcast.
That's why we have editing.
True.
Even with the editing, we do say some weird stuff.
Just me personally, if there's an employer who's watching this right now in the future, I will defend anything I say just because if it's not a joke, because I actually, you know what? Here, bigger topic. When it comes to jokes, do you guys think there's a fine line?
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Really?
There definitely is. It's just for each person, it's a different like line that you can like say.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a line. It's more of like just like a spectrum. It's a very blurry line.
Because like there are just some jokes that just like perpetrate really harmful stereotypes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like done in a distasteful way.
Yeah.
It's not even just jokes. It's sometimes the saying with like certain slurs. Like, okay, let me just bring up an example. So one of my favorite bands released an album a few days ago, and like one of the songs has the F word, fag, in the song. But basically what he's saying is that someone called him that word when he was younger, and he's kind of like reflecting on his experience as an individual who was bullied or something like that, like when he was younger. So what I saw, a lot of people were kind of like pissed off because there's like a certain like community on Twitter that gets like really mad when people say the F word or anything like that, or the word retard in like any sort of way. Like they'll get like pissed.
Mark, get ready to bleep this out.
Just okay, yeah, you can bleep it out. But like, I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on that. Like, should we like phase out words like fag or retard? Like should we start doing that, or is that just going too far?
It's literally what 1984 is all about, phasing out words.
I mean, the thing with words eventually just phase out, though.
True.
Like language evolves.
No one says "the" anymore.
Yeah, but like, should we get pissed off at people that use it, like, even in a certain context, like just for the sake of discussion?
But like,
I'd say it's really case by case basis.
Yeah,
the discussion that
exactly.
At the same point, like people get pissed off about everything. Like people,
Once-
like it's quarantine right now. Everyone's bored. People are just looking at things to get pissed off about.
It's true. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's
for
also
instance,
anything.
let's put an example. Wait, can I just say something real quick? So let's put an example of it. So like Twitter lost its collective mind like 3 days in a row because people on Twitter finally found out that Joji was Filthy Frank. And then people just like lost it and wanted to cancel out Joji, not understanding that like the character Filthy Frank, if you literally just took like one click to the side to the about section, is literally Filthy Frank is a parody of everything that people should not be. Right?
Yeah.
And then like for like Rich Brian, they're like looking back at tweets that he did when he was 12 years old.
Oh, guy.
And then they wanted to cancel him off of stuff. I'm like, you guys are like brainless. Like what is going on? Like stuff like
it's the
that.
same
People
thing.
like he was using the word as a reflection of something that happened or an event that happened in his past that he was reflecting on now, which I think is actually completely fine because he's talking about it in a reflective manner. He's still saying it's bad. You should not say this word. And he only said it to talk about this instance, which I am completely fine with. That's actually good use of the word because you're talking about it in a negative connotation about how someone else said it and reflecting upon it. But just like canceling someone because they just say the word without taking it into context, that's how you get to really dangerous territory with people. Is like it doesn't matter the context or whatever you say. If you just say this word, you're a bad person. Like I hate that.
Yeah, because you start getting into speech suppression, and that's just something I disagree with. Because if you a slur, in my opinion, a slur. Well, it depends on case basis, but a slur is only a slur if you use it in that sort of way.
I mean, now we're going to go into the political territory. Let's just go straight into it. Like trans talk, right? That's a political.
Oh yeah.
Kind of no. If you say like, let's say this, right? There are people who will say that if you don't refer to someone by their preferred pronouns, that you are basically like it's a slur. It's a gender slur. We will offend. Okay, and so that's almost where it comes into censorship, right? And that's where I think the free discussion needs to go into is like, you know, do I have a right to basically say, you know, you're a he?
Okay.
I mean, I guess it depends.
Okay, cool. So I'll go first.
I guess it depends on like. Okay, obviously I'm not from the trans community, so I don't know what like all the struggles associated with it are. But like, in my view, I'd say it's like it really depends on like how it's being used. Because if it's like you like basically tell the person that I go by X pronoun, like I think it's kind of just a complete dick move to not call them that. But like if it's more so like just an honest mistake, because I watch anime, I'm very used to misgenderizing things.
Traps, bro. They will get
not even
that go ultical da.
But like just I feel like if it's an honest mistake, I don't think it's as big a deal. But once again, I'm not.
But there are people that make it a big deal, and that's also an issue that happens.
There's always going to be those people that make it a big deal. They look at one word.
And think about this. Like when we've grown up, we've learned to associate people with either he or she. All right, that's just how society has worked for a lot of people. So when someone assumes something and it's an honest mistake, then like, why shit on them for it?
True.
It's just an honest mistake.
I mean, I'd assume there are also just a lot of frustrations associated with it, especially.
Yeah, exactly with that as well. Yeah, because there's a lot of boomers out there that like they're seeing their worldview get changed, and some of them don't like that. You know, some of them like aren't open. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of it also kind of comes into conflict with religion as well. So that's something that you would also have to accept. And a lot of people have to accept as well. Go ahead, JD.
My thing about it is like, if like let's say you're a guy, you turn into a girl, right? If you look like a girl, I'm gonna call you she. If you just don't look like it, and I think you're a guy, and I call you a he, and then you get pissed off at me for not calling you a she, I will get upset at that because you never told me anything. I made a mistake. That was my fault. I understand that I made a mistake, but you don't need to shit on me about it. And in the same vein of logic, okay, let's say they meet me for the one time, all right? They don't know my background or whatever, and they accidentally call me a Hindu. I don't blame them for that, okay? That's okay, you know? Because I didn't tell him I was a Sikh. If he didn't know, he didn't know. But at the same time, like if I tell you I'm a Sikh and then you call me a Hindu as a derogatory term towards me, then I take offense to that because then you are educated enough to know the difference, but then you still choose to do something. That's where I think it's a problem. If you do not know and you make a mistake, it is fine. But if you do know, they have told you about this and you still make that same choice, then I feel like that is a problem and that should be like addressed.
Yeah, if you do it on purpose, you're an asshole.
Yeah, I have a story about this actually. I was in the COC parking lot. So it's the community college parking lot, right? Mm-hmm. And you know how you have to buy like parking passes at most of these institutions? Mm-hmm. So I was driving, right? I was just driving, going la la la, my business, listening to Yachty. And then all of a sudden, I see what I thought was a dude trying to buy a parking pass. And it wasn't working, so I kind of like, pulled up. I was like, hey, yo, you need some help? And then I had walked up and I said, and I quote, hey, man, need some help? And this person turned around, gave me the most, like, that face where it was like, did you just...
Like the death stare? The death stare?
Yeah.
Yeah, just think of Tucker Carlson right now.
I had made a mistake, and I was like, so in my guilt, I ended up purchasing that person parking pass. And
that's quite a big price for a mistake.
That situation.
I don't
Isn't
think
that like $3?
Exactly.
At the same time, though, you shouldn't be like, all right, sorry, my bad.
Yeah. It also brings up another subject.
It brought me to that mindset where it was like, oh my God, society is at this place where like I am scared to talk. Like I am scared to be labeled that person.
That's also another thing. Because when you have terms like dude or man, like what I've seen is that's becoming more and more like not associated with just dudes, like just boys.
Exactly.
Yeah. I say that all the time.
Yeah.
Like when I get on Discord, I'll say, "Hey, what's up, boys?" Like when they're guys and girls, like just call everyone the boys. Yeah. Like it's just everyone. It's just like the friend group is like you just call them the boys. Like
exactly. If I'm talking to a girl, sometimes I'll say bro, bruh, or dude, or something like that. If I'm like excited about something, it's like.
It's literally at this point, it's literally a non-gender term to talk.
Yeah, exactly. Even with man, like it's not even that bad. Like I've seen girls call. Well, I've seen dudes call girls "Hey man" or something like that. It's
actually how it is. I was there was someone in our class who you guys all know very well, who's kind of known as an SJW. I had said, and I quote, "Let's go, boys," and the person was like, not all of us are boys. And I was like trying to explain, like, no, I say that everybody, it's a phrase, it's like a gaming phrase sometimes. And I was accused of mansplaining. And then I kind of went into oh crap. What do I say? How do I not seem like a sexist? And then that was the point that kind of broke me. That was my personal experience. That was like, you know what? I'm done with this SJW liberal school that's kind of like, it's making me feel like I have to walk on landmines when we're entering an educational discussion. There's a discussion about something. There should be, as long as you're not trying to hurt somebody emotionally, mentally, or physically, like you should be able to say without being afraid your thoughts and ideas.
Oh yeah. Mark, see, that's the reason why, that's because you cared enough to actually think. I just said whatever I'm thinking at that point. I'm just like, if people can handle the truth or what I'm saying, they can't handle it. There's nothing I can change about that. I'm gonna voice what I think and what my opinion is. And if it's right or wrong, I'll take the L or whatever it is if I get proven disproven or whatever. But at the same time, I'm not gonna silence myself or what I think just because someone else I don't get or someone makes me uncomfortable. I'm like, okay, I'll try to figure it out. So if I make you uncomfortable, I'm sorry that I do that, but like I'm not going to change who I am or what I'm saying because someone else feels uncomfortable by that or they don't like what I'm saying.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, I've been called out for saying the word retard before.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
like I was talking to my friend Raj, and I was like, dude, we were talking about something. I don't remember. It was like last year, and I was like, dude, that sounds retarded. And then this one person next to me was like, did you just seriously say the word retarded? There was like a good 5 seconds of like awkward silence.
I think at that point, like also like I don't think they were like. I think there was more of like a shock value because they don't understand like you're like they don't like people like don't understand my relationship with some of my friends like the homie Raj. We'll just say horrible things to each other, but that's just like our friendship. Like we don't hate each other actually, but like at the same time, that's my friend. I'll say what, but like here's the thing: we'll call each other that, but we won't let anyone else call each other that. Stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it was. Like I wasn't even referring to anything that was as someone being like that slur. It was just a situation that I thought was stupid.
Okay, we go to a school with 100 kids. Everyone's listening to everyone's conversations.
That's why I kind of like subtly slip in things, just like as I'm talking to people, I'll be like, yo, that was some nice tasting feet. And like,
fuck?
When Mark knows someone listening, he's like, bro, those toe picks were so nice last night.
Dude, I made so much money off of that. Like where you're talking to somebody, like I'd be talking to Interjeet, and then I just slowly start whispering into his ears, like, and then I stuck it in there, and I had to go to the ER. And then
homies just in the middle of English class.
That's some good shock value right there.
And the thing is, people are so used to me saying insane shit that nobody cares after a certain point.
No, but another part of like the whole SJW thing is kind of like annoying is like people don't really try to understand each other, like get to know each other or anything like that, and they just make assumptions on each other. Like I literally did a project on this, and it was like a chapter of 1984. It was like the guy Woodson like made assumptions on like people without even knowing them, right? And I was seeing that a lot in our school. Case in point, myself, some people labeled me as like this dude bro frat guy or whatever, and I'm just like, what the hell? Like you don't know me if you think I'm like that. Or like people don't like get a chance or try to even understand each other, and they just make these assumptions and they just like stick with them. Because
I mean that's just human behavior, though. Honestly.
That is human behavior, but at the same time, like it annoys me so
people
much.
Just it's frustrating. It's also human behavior.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's just it's a root. It's a problem in society, right? It's how we all live, so we got to learn to live with it. And I think that just brings back to the whole conversation of Biden, where like people will just. They'll stick with what they know and they'll judge, you ain't black with that 3-word term, terms, and they'll just make their own opinion. So,
yeah. Some people are open to change their mindsets. Other people aren't. And some people watch what they say and learn that, when you're running for president, you really need to watch your mouth. Other people are just like, fuck it, come on, man. Let me say whatever the fuck I want, Like stuff like that.